What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Coach Black, your internet's relationship and breakup coach. Today's topic, the best no contact framework guaranteed. How to know exactly where your ex is at and how to respond to where they're at. Now, this video is going to be the most jam-packed video with information that I've ever put out. See, a lot of the content that I put out has to do with philosophy and understanding the mind of your ex so you can attract them back. And that's effective. And that's going to be a little bit of what we talk about here. But in this video, I want to give you tangible examples and things that you can look for, right? So you understand where your ex is at on that journey back to you and how to respond to them so you can move them up the ladder so you get closer and closer together. Now, let me start with this. If your goal is love, happiness, and a healthy long-term relationship with your ex, understand this. You cannot skip steps. Usually you end up in a repeated cycle of issues and going back and forth when you try to make the process faster than it should be. You and your ex both have to go through the steps, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So let's just go ahead and get started. See, there was research done by the Gottman Institute that found that there are 3 stages when it comes to romantic love. Stage number 1 is falling in love. That's those deep, intimate feelings of passion and butterflies. You know, it's the way you feel about someone when you first meet them and you can't really articulate into words, and they just make you excited and you're kind of giddy, right? People also compare this to the feeling of being on drugs. That's how addictive these feelings can be. That's stage number 1. And that feeling definitely tends to cloud our judgment, but it's just a process that we all go through. Stage number 2 is building trust. This is more so when you're evaluating each other and kind of seeing, can I count on you? Will you always have my back? Are you my person? Okay, this is more about, again, deepening that connection and that love. Getting to know that you can trust them and you feel safe with them. Stage number 3 is commitment. Now, commitment is not just the words, right? When we give someone a title or you get married, but it's also your emotional safe place. You've kind of evaluated this person, and to you, as far as relationships are concerned, this is your person. You're emotionally safe with them. You give them the title. You're also physically, emotionally, spiritually committed to them and committed to the relationship. So these are the stages. Now that you know that, you have to understand when a breakup happens, you have walked yourself backwards up those stages, okay? Now, the thing is, your ex might have gone through this process alone. Sometimes you both go through the process, but your ex gets to the place of falling out of love first until they end the relationship, okay? We always talk here about the drop in attraction, okay? But there's usually things that happen that causes your ex to lose attraction. So, for example, let's look at a man, all right? You're in a relationship with your girl and things are going great, but all of a sudden you stop doing the things that you say you would do, right? And she cannot trust your word. You say you're going to pay a certain bill, you forget to pay it. You say you're going to take her out on dates more, you stop taking her out on dates. And all of a sudden, she starts to lose trust for you. And that loss in trust doesn't make her feel safe with the commitment that she's made previously. And what would tend to happen is she might be committed to you by title, but a lot of times emotionally, she starts to detach and remove that emotional commitment from the relationship. Okay. Another thing that tends to lead to breakup, that extreme anxious and needy behavior. And that can affect both men and women alike. But typically anxious people who have an anxious attachment style, when they are triggered, they tend to exhibit what's called protest behavior. Now, protest behavior might be different for different people, but maybe you're blowing up your ex's phone or you're texting all the time. And sometimes this may lead to fighting. Now, your ex may not understand that your fighting is just you trying to seek connection, trying to secure the relationship. To them, the fighting can be looked at as drama, and you're no longer their safe place, right? Where they feel safe in that commitment. And again, they slowly walk themselves back out of the stages until they fall out of love. So once you understand those layers and stages, now let's look at this from your ex's perspective when a breakup happens. When you're broken up, consider yourself at stage 0. You're not even at stage 1, falling in love and attraction and limerence and all those things. You're not. You're at stage 0. So when you understand that, first of all, know that you cannot be doing things in category 2 and category 3. So what does that look like? For example, your ex broke up with you this weekend, and you call them up on a Wednesday, right? The next Wednesday, and you start talking about, let's just get back together. Let's get back into the relationship. I miss you. I love you. All right? You're skipping steps. Your ex doesn't feel that attraction. They don't feel the love. And even though you feel those things because you didn't necessarily walk back down the ladder, they have. But now you're projecting your feelings onto your ex when they do not feel the same way. So you're telling them all the feelings you have and how you want to work through things and how you care about the relationship. This is literally the last thing you should be doing. It's almost like going to a complete stranger and telling them you want to get married and telling them how much you love them. All right. In most cases, they might laugh you off. They may think that you're crazy. The difference is, yeah, your ex might reflect and understand where this is coming from based on the past. So logically, they understand why you might be saying those things. But emotionally, it feels repulsive. It makes no sense to your ex. And so they push you away. Now, if you do enough of getting things out of sequence, if you're constantly doing things from category 3 and category 2 without securing the first crucial stage, which is falling in love and attraction, eventually you push them far enough away that you lose them. This is very important, okay? So an example of building trust, typically when a breakup happens, there's a lot of issues that happen during the relationship and who said what and who did this. So when you're trying to talk about those issues, that falls into category 2, building trust. Okay, because that's the only way you can get back together. So you're trying to talk through these things when your ex, again, is at stage 0. They're not attracted right now. They're not falling in love. So don't make these mistakes. Now, the easiest way to protect yourself from making these types of simple, silly mistakes is to go no contact immediately. Immediately, because it's going to help you getting your ex from stage 0 to stage 1, where they are attracted to you. Now, typically, when it comes to falling in love and everything that we talked about, you need proximity. Okay, your ex has to like meet you. For example, if you were supposed to fall in love with a new person, your dream person, or before you met your ex, for example, you guys were total strangers, and at some point you met each other, whether on a dating app or in person. Somehow you stumbled into each other, and so you had that proximity. Now, when a breakup happens, people have the false perception that they need to create that proximity artificially, okay? You're creating it artificially because you're forcing things. You're calling, you're trying to see them, you're trying to go to places you know they're gonna be at, you're trying to hang out with friends. Remember, totally out of sequence. To create that proximity naturally, you have to allow your ex to have some desire, and that will come when you give them space. No contact naturally does that. They already have the history of you. That's the good news. You've attracted them before. So this is totally possible. Forget about what they said for now You've attracted them before. There was something about you, how you were created, how you talk, how you walk, and all of these things are still in their memory bank. Now, there's mixed in with some negative things that happen in the relationship for sure, but the positive memories are enough to make your ex curious, right, for them to initiate closing that proximity. Okay, so understand this. Now, before we go any further, if you're enjoying this video, I'd ask that you like it. It truly costs you nothing, and it really, really does help the channel out. And I appreciate you for doing so. Again, this video is going to be jam-packed. It's going to be a little bit longer, but stick around. I want you to get your ex back if that is what you want. Okay. So the curiosity will lead to your ex trying to close the proximity. Now, initially, it might be breadcrumbing. They might watch a story. They might like a few posts. So look for these signs, because this tells you if your ex is in stage 0, they haven't reached out to you, they haven't said anything, they're at least on their way to stage 1. The problem is when you overreact in stage 0, you just push them back to where they're not interested. So when they're watching your stories and they're doing all these things, good, but do not react. Don't do anything until they message you. Now, here's the dangerous part. When they message you, they might be getting to stage 1, or they're right before. They're not quite falling in love yet. This is all driven by the curiosity. And so remember, to fall in love with the person, to have those feelings of intimacy, attraction, there needs to be a closing proximity. So when they're reaching out to you, your goal, remembering this is a step-by-step process, you're playing chess. Your goal is to close the proximity, provided that they reached out. Okay, provided that they reached out, the goal is to get together in person. For the men specifically, your ex reaches out to you, you ask them to get together. For the women, I would wait a little bit longer and allow your ex to ask you out. If they don't, you can leave the conversation, and you do this a couple more times before you initiate getting together if they don't get the hint. But again, a good sign that your ex is in stage 1 or getting to stage 1 is that the desire will start to ramp up, and the desire will take care of anything else. Because the desire is innate, it makes them want to close the gap. They want to get close to you. They want to be intimate. They want to spend time with you. Okay? So we're at the point, we have a couple of text messages. We suggest getting together, and your ex agrees. Great. All right. Now we know we're at that cusp. We're either at stage 1 or we're right there. And this date is going to be a key moment to evaluate if there's still something here. Now, the mistake, like I said, that people make is you go on this first date and you forget that this is all about attraction. This is all about building the love and getting your ex to feel the feelings. And let me add this too. Something that's not going to be working in your advantage is that at this stage, limerence is already gone. Your ex is less likely to feel those strong limerence type feelings that they did in the beginning of a relationship when they first met, because again, there's the context of history. But they can still feel a strong desire and attraction. And that's what you need to be focusing on. So again, talking about levels 2 and 3, regardless of where you're at emotionally, even if you're at level 3, you're head over heels, you're ready to lock them up, it is unproductive to bring up relationship talk, getting back together, ultimatums, and talking through all the problems, because remember, that has to do with building trust. If you don't get attraction first, it's going to be difficult to build trust. So treat this like a first date. Go and try to be your best self. Go have fun. Try to laugh. Tell fun stories that aren't necessarily deep, but just about your day-to-day life, what's been going on. Now, inadvertently, your ex might bring up some of these other things in stage 2 and 3, but understand, even though they're bringing it up, more than likely it's just to assess where you're at. Because if they were in stage 2 or 3, they would be with you. They would not have broken up. So again, this is a false signal if we haven't seen the right signs. Okay, it's very unlikely that your ex is at stage 2 or 3 in the first meeting. So always look at things through that context and focus most of your energy on attraction, having a good time, laughing, telling fun stories. And if you ever get confused, just try to think like you were on a first date. Okay? Very important. Now you might say, okay, but what if, my ex tries to get physical and this and that? Remember, this is about attraction. When there's enough attraction, yes, things might tend to lean into that physical side of things, but you have to be very cautious here because you don't want to get into a cycle where you're giving too much benefit too quickly. And again, your ex goes right back down the ladder and they don't value you. You have to let them value you. So intimacy should only be happening for the most part after stage 2. After there have been some conversations about building trust, what went wrong in the relationship, how we can fix the things that went wrong. Again, you can have a good time on a date without being intimate. You can have hugs, you can share kisses even. But if your ex has not done enough things to show a high desire level, that's what we will call stage 1, right? It's high desire and trying to move things forward and constantly, intentionally trying to see you and spend time with you. And it's going to take time for your ex to get here. So you go on one date, you have a good time, maybe it ends with a kiss, you both go your separate ways. This will take time. Let me add this. There's scientific research that also shows it takes men approximately 88 days to fall in love, and it takes women approximately 134 days to fall in love. And when a breakup happens, your ex is out of love with you. Now, while it may not take them the full time, right? Because there's the context of history, they already know you. It will take them some time. So at least be prepared to date and spend time and have fun together for at least half the amount of time it would typically take for a new person to fall in love. Okay, so again, that's going to be over the 2-month mark, probably somewhere in there, before you start even thinking about making any demands for commitment. So that's kind of how you should be thinking about this. Love and attraction first, which is not focusing on stage 2 and 3. Don't bring those things up. If your ex brings them up, I would just say just bob and weave like a good boxer. Okay, so you might address certain things that went wrong, but you want to redirect because emotionally they're not there. It's just a test. Don't be too focused on it. You need to answer their questions respectfully because, it's a conversation, so you don't want to be a robot. But again, don't spend most of your time on stage 2 and 3 yet. Then when you start seeing the signs, they're asking to see you more. They're texting you more. They're calling you more, right? They're wondering why you're being so distant. That tells you, okay, they're already in stage 1 and they're ready to move to stage 2. That's when you start focusing on rebuilding the trust. That's when you can start talking about what went wrong in the relationship, all the issues. And that should take probably a few dates to get there, right? Multiple dates, multiple conversations. So if you're trying to jump the gun and you're always saying, can we get back together? You're out of sequence. Now, when you've had those deeper conversations and you both understand where you went wrong, and potentially you've already both been working on the issues during the breakup, right? Now you're in a place where you can sense that they're potentially ready to move to stage 3. This is also why you probably don't want your ex to come back right away, because nothing has changed and it's going to be difficult for you to build trust if you're both still the same people. Deep down at your core, you know that people don't change overnight. So it's hard to get to the commitment phase without stage 2. Now let me add this. There's some cases, not a lot, but few, where you have that first conversation with your ex and you say, hey, let's get back together. And they agree. Those are the types of relationships that do not last because you didn't take the time to walk through the steps and your ex never felt the deep sense of longing and desire. They never truly fell in love. So even though they agreed, they came around to your side of thinking and accepted the commitment, they're more likely to flee sooner or later, whether it's in 2 months or 3 months, because you didn't take the time to re-engage with them emotionally and get them to fall in love with you. Okay, so that is the process, and there's no skipping steps. You try to skip steps, you're going to lose. So this video was probably a little bit longer. I don't know where we ended up, but I'll say this. If you enjoyed it, again, go ahead and like this video right now. I really do hope it helps you with your process, so you understand. If you're in no contact, for example, and your ex is not even reaching out, you're in stage 0. So it makes no sense for you to text them and say, oh, let's get back together. I love you. It will not work. Okay. So I hope when you understand this framework, you also understand the sequence. When should you be bringing up a relationship? If you haven't seen all of those signs, if you haven't talked about the issues deeply and truly understanding what went wrong and working through those things, you shouldn't even be bringing up commitment at all. All of that is just coming from your fears. And again, your fears is what's going to cause your ex to run in the opposite direction. So again, if you like this video, go ahead and like it right now. I appreciate you for doing so. I really do. It means a lot and it helps the channel out. And I'm going to keep on putting out videos like this. More practical, more tangible, because I want you to get the outcomes that you want. If you have any feedback that you want to share with me, drop it down in the comment section below. This video might at some point become something that I may make private and share it with other people who want to purchase. But I wanted to offer this to you guys who've been supporting, who've been watching for free, obviously. But I think this is the best framework for you to understand where your ex is at. So again, you can get the outcomes that you want. So please do me the favor, right? If this was a video that you were going to purchase, right? If this was a course or something, what else would you like to see? What else would you like to know? What other questions do you have that will make this better? I appreciate you for your feedback. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.